basketball, and a new partnership unveiled today, Cappy. The LA Kings have a new home here at 710 ESPN, and the great Nick Nickson joins us here now on Sedano and Cap. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. A pleasure, an honor. Welcome to the family. We love that we are going to have you guys on board, and we're going to be having your games on each and every night that you guys are playing. What's up, man? How are you? And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited about this news, obviously. I mean, in years past, we've been associated with 710 ESPN, and boy, a lot going on with the Kings lately. The announcement of the flagship change, the trade yesterday where the Kings got a goaltender and parted ways with P.L. Dubois. A new logo that will be unveiled next week, which kind of ties in the past with the present. So, yeah, it's, middle of the summer. What is this, the first day of summer? But a lot to be talked about in terms of hockey here in Southern California.
Yeah, and Darcy, is it Kuemper? Or is that how you pronounce it? Kemper from the Washington Capitals. Yeah, they made that trade. Yes, no doubt.
Yeah, what did they get, Nick?
He's a veteran goaltender. He was with the Kings a few years ago as a backup to Jonathan Quick, and is an established goaltender. He wound up in Colorado a couple of years ago and was their goalie in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they won the Cup that season. So he has a pretty good playoff pedigree behind him. And, of course, with Kemper coming to L.A., and having 3 years left on a contract that pays him $5 million a year, the Kings send out Dubois and free up a lot of cap space moving forward to look at maybe re-signing Matt Roy on defense, Victor Arvidsson up front, or going out and spending that money they have now on some other attractive free agents. So the tenor of the Kings and the makeup of the team has changed really drastically with that announcement of Kemper coming to L.A. for P.L. Dubois, who had 7 years left on a contract that was to pay him $8.5 million a year. So speaks volumes, and, the Kings are now in good shape to, as I said earlier, go out and find some pieces to make them even better.
Nick, you've been calling Kings games since, the beginning of the 80s, right? Like right at the beginning of the 80s?
Yeah, 1981 was my first season, so this will be year number 44 with me for the Kings.
Wow, amazing.
That is unbelievable. Congratulations to you. I mean, anybody, I don't care what profession, if you have a career where you have 44 years, forget 44, if you had 20 years at a company, let alone 44 years, that is really, really legendary. If somebody had never heard of the Kings before, and you were going to tell them, the story, your story, and I don't mean you as a broadcaster, but, the story, the greatest season, or the Wayne Gretzky part of it, what is the story you would tell given 44 years of calling Kings games?
Well, the story, I think, begins, and I think a lot of Kings fans who have been following the team since its inception back in 1967 would be, the one word would be patience. When I came on board in 1981, the Kings were a team that had yet to win a Stanley Cup. I think it was their 15th NHL season when I started. The great Bob Miller, of course, had established himself for 7-8 years when I came on board. And it's interesting, and all the years passed by, and we got Wayne Gretzky, and some great players came through, and the Kings were never, ever able to capture that Stanley Cup. And then out of the blue in 2012, they just sneak in as an 8th seed and go on to make so much history. And the patience that for those of us who have worked for the Kings and all of those fans have shown over the years finally was rewarded. And then as a bonus, of course, 2 years later in 2014, they repeated. So right. I think the buzzword, if you're a Kings fan now and have been for a long time, would be patience.
Right. No question about it. We had Coach Hiller on what was it, a couple weeks ago now, Cap? Probably about a month or so ago. We loved chatting with him. Yeah. We found out beyond his, obviously, hockey prowess, that he's a big Hairspray band guy.
Motley Crue.
Yeah, Motley Crue was his favorite band. We would have never guessed that, actually. Would you have pegged him as a Motley Crue guy?
I would not have guessed that. But nothing surprised. I'm old enough, guys, to know that nothing surprises me anymore. But Jim came on board 2 years ago as an assistant and did great work on the power play, turning it around. And all of us that know Jim, and I've been around long enough. I remember when the Kings drafted him out of college some 30 years ago. He's a wonderful guy. I think he's very innovative. He's one of these. He's not a young guy. He's early 50s, but his first crack at a head coaching job, and I think he's got some neat ideas. I think he'll throw some wrinkles in there that will work well for the team moving forward. So happy that he's finally getting opportunity.
I just want to say one thing. When you're in your 50s, Nick. You're a young guy.
You're not.
Yes,
you
are.
It's
Yes,
okay.
you are. I am
It's
a young
okay.
guy.
No, you're
I'm
not
in my
a young
50s, and I'm a young guy, Nick.
You have 4 children who have graduated high school and only one left. I believe 2 left in college. You're not young.
I'm a young guy. I'm a young 50-something, Nick.
Well, you're only young as you feel, right? Yeah. Speaking of kids and grandkids, I'm here in Arizona this week. My grandson, who is 14, is in a baseball tournament. And I just got back about an hour ago. He's got back-to-back games today. I went to the first one, 114 degrees.
Oh, boy.
And I said, You know what? I'm going to go back home and rest up. I've got a big interview to do today. I know all about the kids and the grandkids. And, it's fun. But 114 is a little bit for me.
Yeah. No doubt about that. Hey, Nick, before we let you go, and again, we're so excited with this new partnership, this new flagship station for the LA Kings here on 710 ESPN. I mean, we've got all the great brands, obviously yourself included, and you do such a great job on these broadcasts. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Stanley Cup playoffs at the moment, right? You guys obviously faced the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. And what Connor McDavid is doing right now is historical in so many ways. But you, as someone who understands this sport as well as anyone and has broadcasted this sport as long as you have, what do you make of what he is how he's performed, particularly in these last 2 games?
Yeah, well, let's go back 3 years. The Kings played the Oilers in the playoffs in the first round and lost. 2 years ago, same scenario, lost. Same scenario this year.
Yeah.
So I've had an opportunity to watch McDavid over a stretch of games, 7 and 2 weeks, in each playoff year. And I have a greater appreciation for how great this guy is. I mean, he is dynamic every shift, every night, and obviously produces almost every night. He's already broken Gretzky's assist record in the playoffs. He might, if this goes 7 games, he might break his point total for a single playoff year. He's an unbelievable player, a player that does what we've never seen players do before. At top speed, the skill level is still there. And if you watch some of his one-on-one moves, and even in the finals against a very good Florida team, you have a greater appreciation for the skill that this guy brings. I mean, he's in a class by himself. I mean, don't let anybody tell you different. He is the world's best hockey player. As far as the series goes, Florida's playing great. They had about 4 periods where they fell apart. I think they've gotten their game back, but Edmonton has the momentum. I'm rooting for McDavid. I like to see the great players get a championship, which is why I rooted for Ovechkin and the Capitals a couple of years ago. I think Edmonton will win one at one point with McDavid and Draisaitl. But I love Florida, and I love Paul Maurice as a coach. He's coached for so many games, and I'd like to see him get rewarded. So I could go either way with who I'd like to win, but getting back to your original question on McDavid, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's an all-timer. He's an all-timer already. Yeah.
Yeah. And
he is, but
him, you've got to go see him play on a regular basis.
But just want to say, but as far as like people comparing him to Gretzky, the only thing is, how many Gretzky have? 4 Stanley Cups?
Yes.
Okay, and McDavid's still 0.
Well, he's young.
Right.
I know, but I'm just saying the way people already talk about him like as if he's better than Gretzky. Like Gretzky to me, as a kid growing up, was the greatest hockey player. And I grant you, he wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the toughest, but he was the fastest and he was the most nimble and he was the best scorer. But he's got 4 championships. So for everybody,
right.
But
that's right. And that's why I made the reference to Ovechkin because and everybody knows it that follows the sport. The great players. What seals their legacy is a championship, and Gretzky really didn't need the cups to seal his. I mean, the guy's got close to 3,000 career points, but I think Connor McDavid is going to win at least a couple in his lifetime as a player because he's just too good. He's just too good.
Yeah, he is an all-timer already, as you mentioned. And Nick Nickson, you are an all-timer as well.
Big time,
and
man.
we are honored to have you on the show today. The first of many, I would presume. And again, honored to have the Kings here on this station. Thank you so much for taking the time out from your time off. Go enjoy the grandkids.
In the air conditioning.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, in the air conditioning. Definitely in the air conditioning. Yes.
Right.
Well, yeah, we'll talk during the season and come up and say hi in the booth during the season.
Will do.
Absolutely. 100%.
Absolutely. There he is, the great Nick Nickson.